So, okay, it seems to be that we are really online.
Ok, super.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Gerhild.
And hello to everybody. Bienvenue en Champagne, mesdames et messieurs. Bon, mesdames aujourd'hui, naturellement. So, a very, very warm welcome. Excuse me, but normally with French people, I speak French, and sometimes I'm now switching perhaps in French language because I'm German. A very warm welcome to tonight's Sparkling Festival online. I am Gerhild Burkard, organizer of the International Sparkling Festival in Germany and German ambassador from the CIVC, and at least tonight your host. Let me introduce your three women because I'm really very proud that we are together tonight. So it's Chantal Gonet from Philippe Champagne et Philippe Gonet. It's Anne Malassagne from LENOBLE. And it's Maggie KRUG from the famous house of Maggie.
Henriquez. It's the same.
From the famous house of KRUG, not KRUG. Okay, excuse me.
No problem.
So they are representing today a part of the group La Transmission, and they will introduce themselves a little bit later. So we have already something in the class. First, I say cheers to everyone. And what is champagne? This is champagne. And champagne for me is not only a sparkling wine, it's an emotion. In French, we say, ça me touche. It really touches me, but it's not only a drink for special occasions. I think it's a bubble, it's a feast for every day. If you are in a bad mood, in a good mood, and if you have something to celebrate or not. And at this time is perhaps sometimes not so easy. So I open very often a bottle of champagne, and at least it's for every age. Perhaps later we will talk about this. So don't be afraid to taste champagne. And I will tell you some stories at the end. But beyond, it is very important to know something about champagne, because we are in a viticulture area. It's the appellation origine protégée. So it's behind me. It's the northern part of France, viticulture area. And we have here Reims. KRUG is sitting, they are located in Reims, but they have their wines everywhere, their vineyards. And here south of Reims, we have the area of Montagne de Reims, where we find a lot of Pinot Noir area of grapes. And then we go further on to La Vallée de la Marne. It's Anne, she's coming from Damery, it's next to Épernay, it's not so far from Épernay, a capital where you have this famous Champagne Avenue, Avenue de Champagne. And here we have a lot of Meunier, so it's the second grape we are talking about. Then on the south here, it's the Côte des Blancs. And the Côte des Blancs, it's the Blanc, the white grape, and the soils, because it's choke. And it's outcrop of choke in this area. And Chantal, she's coming from a famous village, a Grand Cru village, Ménil, and she will talk about this later. If we are going south, about in this area here, about 30 kilometers from Reims, we are in the Aube and La Côte des Bas. La Côte des Bas, that means you are at the front border of Burgundy. So Pinot Noir, it's a big role. And we have another kind of limestone. It's Jura chalk and limestone and marl, which plays a big role. So here we have Pinot Noir and naturally some Chardonnay and Meunier, but mostly Pinot Noir. So if we are going now to these ladies, you have gathered together to create a group, La Transmission Femmes en Champagne. And women are very important in Champagne area and the history. And you are going on the same way. You are now the new generation of women in Champagne. What is your intention, Maggie? C'est ta parole.
Thank you so much. It's very, very pleasant, and we are very happy to be with you all. And thank you, Gerhild, for this invitation. It's our pleasure to be together to share with you our vision on Champagne. And yes, it was a group of women. We were very diverse, coming from different places in Champagne, but all very committed to our houses, very committed to the Champagne, very committed to our terroir, very committed to our vineyards, and very committed to transmit, and to transmit Champagne differently, to transmit Champagne not just a celebratory drink, but as a drink that can accompany so many moments and can turn any moment into a great moment. And also to transmit that Champagne can be tasted in different moments, can really accompany food, and bring, you know, this joy into Champagne. And I always like to say Champagne is the most joyful way of tasting great wines. And so we were all committed to the same. And most important, probably, because we are very diverse in age, in where we come from, as I said, we were all very committed to the idea of transmitting to younger generation of women the importance of them coming and lead positions in the Champagne region. We are all leaders where we are, in a larger, smaller, or different houses. It doesn't matter. We share the same values, and we love to be together, to do together this because we believe that together we can shout louder, okay? Every one of us think the same. We all share the same values, but we believe that the way this can be transmitted to the world will be much better if we do a collective effort. We live in a time where collective efforts are very valued. And for us, this is a privilege. And we all think and live this group as an enormous privilege and as an enormous joy, with such a generosity and this capacity of sharing. And this is about sharing among ourselves, sharing with the world, sharing our world, sharing our word, and sharing our values, and sharing especially our vision on Champagne. Champagne is born from great wines. Great champagnes are born from great wines. So they need a good glass. Don't put a flute. Great champagnes can have a space in everyone's life. It is beloved by so many people, especially women. They love champagne. So we feel very, very committed and very empowered as a group to really try to share our passion and our love for our terroirs, for our houses, and for being together. So I'd like now that you know who the transmission is, and we are 3 representing 9 of us that will come after. And I'm very happy to share now, to pass the word to Chantal, who is going to even teach you how to open a bottle of champagne. Allez, Chantal.
Therefore, I want to share this because I discovered them. And I think now I want to show these bottles as well, because this is very, very, I'm really happy to share these bottles tonight with you, and you have your bottles on your table. And it's now up to, but first I want to say, you are so, I have the impression that you are really, really feel as women in Champagne. So it's another way. My first profession is architect, so I'm in the world of men as well, and I think the wine business is a world of men as well. So is there in La Transmission, is there another approach in general to men or to the world of wine?
Yeah, I think it's a group of women who we love to talk to the world, and the world is about men and women. All our activities, the different workshops we do, we receive with our open arms, women and men. It's no difference. All what we want to do is to show a different shape a different phase of Champagne, because we are diverse, because we're women, we can share, we share with generosity, we share without ego, and this allows us to show Champagne so differently because of this diversity that we represent. We are different ages. I belong to the oldest generation. But enjoy, we all share the same passion, the same joy. And this is why now I would like to invite you all to pay a lot of attention to Chantal, who is going to explain to you very well how to open a bottle of champagne. So let's start the joy of tasting champagne. You know, champagne is, as I said, the most joyful way of tasting good wine. So let's enjoy this hour together, and let us invite Chantal to open a bottle of her champagne.
Thank you, Maggie. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to share this champagne moment with you tonight. A simple Sunday evening. That's always great to share a glass and to have this great time. So my name is Chantal Gonet, and I am the owner with my brother of Champagne Philippe Gonet, which is located in Le Mesnil-sur-Oger. Gerhild, if you can show where it is. Exactly, in the south of the Épernay region, in the Côte des Blancs, where we grow all the Chardonnays. And the Chardonnays of Le Mesnil are very special. They are very well known for their high acid, which is quite interesting. If you mature the wine, you get a lot of different aromas, very complex and very interesting. So I may explain you how to open a bottle of champagne, because it's nice to talk, but it's also nice to share the glass together, to share the champagne. So it's quite important to know how to open a bottle properly. So just look at the bottle, look at the top, you shall find a little tongue. Here it's a white little mark, and you take it, just pull it so you can open it properly, and it's a nicer top. Okay, then you put immediately your thumb on the top of the bottle, because you don't want to have any problems, any accidents. You know that you have a high pressure in the bottle, 6 bars, and it's quite strong. So you take the metal cage, you put it horizontally, and you turn 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you pull out this. I prefer keep the metal cage on the cork, because it helped me to grab firmly the cork. So you always keep your thumb, don't forget. You take with your left hand maybe the bottle, the cork in the hand, and then you take with your right hand, you turn with your hand, keep it firmly, because you're gonna have the bottle, the cork released with the pressure, and you want to hear the nice pshit. So just pay attention.
This moment of grandeur.
Gorgeous. I love this voice.
Voilà, time to share. So Maggie.
And don't worry, you open few bottles and you get the practice. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's very, very easy. You have really to do this, but because sometimes people think, oh, you everything is going around. But if you held your hand on it, so it will be okay. Exactly. I just have a look at my YouTube comments, because there are people from Germany. We say hello, and Tim Hall, he's one of our Champagne ambassador in London as well as me. We have been in the same year. So hello, Tim, not to New York, to London. And Christine Meyer, she's ambassador as well, and she's from Italy and Austria, so she's now in Italy. So we are really happy to see a lot of people now looking us from around the world, around Europe.
Cheers.
Cheers to everyone.
Thank you, Chantal, for this amazing opening.
Thank you. So now you can taste it, and what is important when you taste the champagne is smell it first. The taste is important, but the nose is also very important. You can discover 70% of wine just with your nose. So just try to think what it remembers you. Fruits, flowers, other aromas you remember you were small or whatever. And when you drink it, keep it a little bit in your mouth. So you make a little bit of air. And when you swirl it in your mouth, you get also another kind of aromas. So when you swirled it, then you have also other taste like freshness, citrusy. And here is in this wine, which is a pure Chardonnay. This is our specialty because I told you we are located in the Côte des Blancs. So we grow mostly Chardonnays. The champagne that I introduce you tonight is 100% Chardonnay. It's called 3210 Extra Brut. Very special name with 4 digits. It's not the vintage, of course. It's not the price or whatever. It means 3 years of aging in the bottle. So it's mainly 2016. It's a blend. It's not a vintage, a blend of different years. You know that the non-vintages in Champagne means multi-vintages. We blend different vintages. Here you have 70% of 2016 and 30% of 5 older vintages. The 2 means 2 vineyards because the Chardonnays are coming from 2 different places. One is Le Mesnil-sur-Oger, the Grand Cru, which is in the Côte des Blancs. And the other one is Montgueux, located in the north of the Aube. Gerhild, can you help me to show where it is? It's about 1 hour drive southern, and it's also called the Montrachet of Champagne. You have heard of Montrachet, it's in Burgundy, but it's just to say that it's a Burgundy style with a lot of different aromas. So the soil is almost like in Le Mesnil, but it's another kind of pure white chalk with different sediments. I have to talk a little bit about the soil because this is very important in Champagne. So this white chalk was done, let's say 100 million years ago when the seas, North, Mediterranean, Atlantic, went back and forth on France and made sediments. So you have a lot of marine microorganisms in the soil. And when the roots of the vines are going very deep, they get all those minerals. So that's what you can find also when you taste the champagne. Sometimes you have salinity, minerality that comes from the soil. It's exactly the explanation. And in this wine, particularly, because it's a zero dosage champagne. Gerhild, you're going to explain what is a zero dosage maybe after that.
Yes.
But that means we don't add any sugar. It's a very pure wine. So you get this minerality, this sensation at the end of the mouth, which is very special. And that's why I choose to pair it with a special cheese called Salers. It's a cheese that is coming from Cantal region in the center of France, in the mountains. It's a cheese from cows, and it's quite salty. When they do it, it's a firm cheese pressed 2 times and crushed in the middle, and you add salt, about 25 grams for 1 kilo. So it's quite salty, and it's made in kind of oak barrels. So it brings also other aromas and spices that are very interesting with this champagne, which is very tasty. So if you have the time to taste it,
yeah.
Very important.
And
I forget to explain.
Explanation for those who are in Germany now, listen us because there are a lot of Germans. Salers it's very rare here. You get it in a really good shop, and but it doesn't matter. I like it, and a lot of people are going in French, and some people they speak here in French. They say bonjour à tous. Les Allemands, excuse me, the Germans speak often French as well. And but it's nice with this saltiness, and because it's a very good food pairing, something salty and with this kind of wine. Chantal, what I want to know, you were very young when you came to the winery, and so I have seen you have been 23, I think. You started. You have an education as enologue, and so what happened when you come to your father's winery, because you were really young. No.
Yeah, actually, I came back right after my studies. I graduated as an engineer, and at the beginning I did not really choose to come back at the winery, but my father's died 3 years before I came back, and my mother was really handling all the matters. We had 2 wineries at that time, one in Champagne, one in Burgundy, and she really needed someone to help her for the sales. More specifically, my brother, because he's a team brother and sister, is in charge of all the vineyards and the winemaking. We own 20 hectares, and he studied enology and viticulture in Burgundy. And I'm not professional in wines and vineyards, but I take part at the harvest time, because this is the most important work, the most important time to do great grapes and great champagne, of course. And I also take part at the blending, which is also very difficult and probably the second most important time for in a champagne life. Yeah, so quite difficult when you are young, but you know, it's life, and you learn. And I have to say that we probably needed 10 years before knowing exactly where we wanted to go, our vision, the style of our champagne, where we wanted to export, sell our wines to professional. And yeah, it takes time to know who you are and where you want to go.
Okay. So we are talking about Extra Brut, Brut Nature, and Brut. We have an Extra Brut. You already told us that it's an Extra Brut, but with no dosage. You can write Extra Brut, but normally Extra Brut is until 6 grams sugar at the end. When you have the dosage, when the champagne is nearly finished, before the cork, we explain it a little bit later. And the zero dosage is until 3 grams, and a Brut is until 12 grams. So in Germany, people say often trocken, but trocken, that means not Brut. Trocken, that means sec. And if you have sec wines, sec champagnes, so you can have 32 grams of sugar. So in Germany, we have these sugar cubes, and they are normed. So it's 3 grams. And if you have a sparkling wine, which is written dry, so you can have in total more than 30 grams of sugar, so 10 cubes of German sugar candy. So I explain it to you because people sometimes they think, oh, we drink dry bubbles or sparklings, but it's not Brut. So when we come later, I show you on the etiquette of the others. They are other. They have Brut on KRUG, but we will talk about this later. So now we go to La Vallée de la Marne, and Anne, it's up to you now. It's 4 weeks ago. I have been in Damery. I know you very well, and so explain us a little bit. What is your mission about Champagne and your history? How do you get?
Good evening, Gerhild. Good evening, everyone. So happy to be with you tonight as well and to share this tasting. Well, a few words maybe about the house and about my background. And just to explain the reason why I'm so happy and proud to be part of this group, La Transmission. The house on LENOBLE was founded by my great-grandfather in 1920. He was a former wine merchant from Alsace, and he started, if you can show, well, he just set up his business in Dameritz, about 4 kilometers away from Épernay, in the heart of Champagne. And he started producing champagne in 1920, so just 2 years after the end of the First World War. And this is certainly why he thought that the German name was not a good idea for champagne. So he renamed his champagne R for his initials, Armand Raphael, and LENOBLE in honor of the nobility of the wines of Champagne. Personally, I took over from my father 27 years ago already. That was in 1993, in October, October 1993, when my father informed his 3 children about his decision to start a business hardly hit by the crisis in the early 90s. My oldest brother was a surgeon in Paris and unable to take over, while my youngest brother was still a student, too young to do either. I was working in a very different world from the wine world. I was working in the finance department of L'Oréal, but it didn't take me very long before I made the decision to join my father. And I thought that my father making the wine and me in charge of the commercial activity, we should have been a very efficient team to take on the challenges. But as Chantal said, life can be unexpected, and my father became very ill a few months after my arrival, and he had to leave the house immediately. So I was 28 years old, so same age as Chantal, and I didn't know much about champagne, and I had no experience about winemaking. So the challenge was enormous, especially since, as you said, the wine world was a very male-dominated world and gave little credit to women, especially who was young and with no experience in winemaking. So, as Chantal said, I had to fight many years to convince others of my credibility. And 3 years later, my brother, my youngest brother, joined me, and that brother and sister as a team were working now together for more than 20 years. But 5 years ago, I thought that was time for me just to share my background, to transmit my experience. And this is how I called Maggie and how we had the idea to set up this group and to be a group of diverse 9 women working as a collective together. And as Maggie said, being together makes us much stronger. So I'm very happy to be part of this group and to start the first live of La Transmission, because next Sunday you'll have another live with 3 other women of Champagne, and it's 3 weeks, the last one with 3 left. Let's move now to Champagne, because as Chantal said, it's Sunday night, and at La Transmission we are very committed to making Champagne education fun and not intimidating. And we are promoting Champagne as a delicious glass of wine you can drink more casually and more frequently. So it's Sunday evening, nothing to celebrate, just celebrate life and just being together, and at the perfect moment to open a bottle of champagne. So for tonight, I've chose our Mag 16 Intense, a very simple, easy, friendly champagne to enjoy on Sunday night and to pair with cheese. So what about our vines? We have 18 hectares, mainly located on the Côte des Blancs. So you show on the map, Gerhild, the Côte des Blancs is south of Épernay. And our vines are mainly located in Chouilly. Chouilly is the village in the north of the Côte des Blancs. So our vines are mainly located in Chouilly, and the rest is located in Bisseuil. Bisseuil is a premier cru village along the valley de la Marne, near to Tours-sur-Marne. Yeah, if you can show on the map. At AR Lenoble, we are quite special since we conserve or reserve wine in several different ways. In stainless steel vats, in 250-liter barrels, in 5,000-liter wooden vats, but also since 2010 in magnums under natural cork to keep the reserve wine fresh. At Lenoble and at La Transmission, maybe that could be something we could talk about in another live. We are very committed to the climate change. And it's quite important to keep the wine fresh, especially the reserve wines, because in the past until now, the reserve wines were supposed to bring the complexity to last harvest, and last harvest was supposed to refresh the reserve wines, because as Chantal said, a non-vintage champagne is a blend of the last harvest, and to that you add a proportion of reserve wines. And as I said, the reserve wine was supposed to bring the complexity, and the last harvest was supposed to bring the freshness. But because of the...
And perhaps you can explain again a little bit, what is the reserve wine? Because people perhaps are not so in common that know what it is, because you have not, you can have a champagne from the year, so a millésime, but you can have a blend. So reserve wine, what does it mean?
Yeah, as Chantal said, a champagne is a blend of different harvests, different years, different wines, and you have the last harvest, and to that you add wines from previous harvest, so older wines. And the question of how you keep the reserve wines will become an issue because of the climate warming, because the freshness of the reserve wines, it means the older wines you add to the last harvest, the question of the freshness of these wines will become an issue if every year the acidity is going down. So at Lenoble, we are quite committed to refreshing our wines, and that's the reason why we keep most of our reserve wines in magnums to keep the wines very fresh. So this is on, if you have a look on the bottle above the label, you have this little sticker, Mag 16. So 16 represent the harvest. In that case, this is harvest 2016. And to that, we added reserve wines, which have spent more than 4 years in magnum on the cork. So that's a blend of harvest 2016 and reserve wines, which most of them aged in magnums on the cork. So let's share now.
Try, yes.
I'm waiting.
People are waiting for this.
So this is a blend of the 3 grapes: Chardonnay from Chouilly Grand Cru, Pinot Noir from Bisseuil Premier Cru, and Pinot Meunier from the village of Damery, where we are located. It's an extra brut because thanks to a long aging in our cellars, we can reduce the dosage to the strict minimum of 2 grams. So it's very, very clean, very fresh. It's a very charming, friendly champagne for any occasion like Sunday night. And I have chosen a cheers pairing with the showers. So I show you the showers. The showers is this big white cheers. I like this cheers because it comes from the region of Champagne. From the south of Champagne, about 30 kilometers away from Troyes. It's a very creamy cheese. When it's young, it tastes chalk and cream and fresh mushroom. But after aging, it reveals notes of caramel and salted butter and other nuts.
Super nice.
It's a very unctuous, creamy champagne. And I like the contrast with a very fresh and clean finish of the Mag 16. So
because this champagne is very round. If you have the showers, perhaps for champagne with more acidity, sometimes perhaps it's not so creamy. So this is a really good combination, this round and creamy champagne with this creamy cheese. I think this is quite very, very good.
Our style is one of richness and character. So you have the body, you have the body wine, but the very clean finish. So I like the contrast with the creamy texture and the chalky flavors of the showers.
Yes.
And it's so easy, you know, you don't need anything else, and it makes your day.
Yeah.
Very nice pairing.
And showers you can buy in everywhere in Germany, so it's quite nice as well. So it's a good combination, and we have tested it always. And I think you already said showers is coming from the region, so a product of the region is always nearly good with the sparkle or with other wines.
And we know that you have amazing bread in Germany. Yeah. So very simple. We just have the bread baguette. Well. Of course.
This is very good in Germany, but baguette is the best in France.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yes, I prefer the dark bread.
So it's quite important, Gerhild, once again, to change the way we drink champagne, to change the way we talk about champagne. So at La Transmission, we are very committed to to promote champagne, the best glass of wine, but you can drink more casually, more frankly, and with roasted chicken, with cheese, with bread on a Sunday evening. It doesn't matter if it's your 30th birthday or just a busy day at work. If you want to treat yourself, if you need a joyful moment, I mean, the wines of Champagne, they are so different, but they are all amazing. And just choose one and make the experience. And we are so happy to share this experience tonight with you. It's easy, it's fun. And once again, it makes your day.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Exactly.
Cheers, the human experience.
You can transform any moment into a great moment with a glass of champagne.
You know, I always, when I give lessons about champagne, I say when I'm in Champagne, I cut my hair very, very short. After a week in Champagne, my hairs are minimum 3 or 4 centimeters longer. It's a beauty. You don't need any other things. And my ongles are really getting longer and longer. So it's a wellness drink, I think.
I think so it's because it makes you happier.
Yeah.
You know? And when you're happy, you produce endorphin, and endorphin is regenerative, and this is why you have your longer hair and your nails.
This is the magic of champagne.
And I can add to that because there is a very little sugar in great champagnes, you can lose weight and have champagne.
Yes.
I have done it.
This I didn't know that I lose weight, but it doesn't matter. It's only for my hairs and for my ongles.
I tell you, and it's in fact.
Yeah, and the minerality as well. I think there are a lot of minerals inside, and a lot of people are eating minerals, you know. But you drink it. I think champagne is better for this, and it makes.
And I think there is something very important we have already tasted in these 2 champagnes, that their bubbles are very thin. They really come in a very delicate way. And this is why champagne you should have it in a good glass. In white wine glass is perfect glass for good champagne. And then you can feel very comfortable of really combining it with food, because it can really make the whole experience very unique. As when you taste, the bubbles will take the flavors and they will go longer. And this is what makes this food experience, this accord mevin, this gastronomic connection, very, very unique. This food pairing, very, very unique as an amazing experiences that we really encourage you to feel free to go for a lot more. We are suggesting here different cheeses, but really enjoy champagne any moment and enjoy it with food. Yeah.
Yes, with food. It's very important. You can eat some quiche with it, or light food. It's very delicate. And I want to tell you now a story, because I say champagne is something for every age. And when I trained, I every time I tell this story, but because it's, for me, it's a flash about champagne. My mom, she was 87, now she's 96, and
Wow.
she started with 87 to try her first glass of champagne, because I was training and I have to drink a lot of bottles of champagne, and I want to share it with my family. They normally don't drink champagne so often. It's very rare. So, and when she started to drink it, and she said, "Oh, Gerhild, what is this? It is quite nice." And I don't want to drink any longer still wine. I will drink champagne. So when she's get 90, and I bought her a bottle of Jeroboam, and she was with this bottle. And when she was 95 now, and I bought another bottle of, and she still really happy to drink it. It's on Easter, for Christmas, not often, but she said, because it's animating your mouth as well. It's watering your mouth because of the acidity. And I think, so this can be a drink for every age, and you can start it with every age.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to share with our friends that when we say acidity, this is freshness.
Yeah.
What you feel is freshness, because the word
Freshness,
acidity
yeah.
can be like a little disruptive, but really what people feel is freshness. And for champagne, it's very important to be fresh, because you need to have this kind of bubbly, beautiful light that you find in all good champagne.
And it's long on the palate, I think, and it's really very good.
It's a kind of vibration that you have in your
Exactly.
mouth. It makes you salivate.
Yeah.
The wine is like talking to you. So it's a very nice sensation.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I was very nervous, but now with a glass of champagne, I'm getting cooler.
You are very
More relaxed, more relaxed.
Everybody feels better.
Yeah, but perhaps we talked about champagne, but I think we have to talk about the production before we go to KRUG. How is champagne made? So we have a second fermentation, we have the harvest, and we have the first fermentation, and then the assemblage. We already explained that we put different wines together, but who wants to explain what happened with the second fermentation with the yeast and the sugar?
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah,
of course. So yeah, this is very different with wine because you have much more work. So you do a wine first, and then before the bottling, you do the assemblage, of course, of different grapes from different vineyards, different grape variety, different vintages. So you can blend absolutely everything. And you add a little bit of sugar to provoke the second fermentation, and some ferment, yeast, that will actually eat the sugar and create bubbles and a little bit more of alcohol, but just 1%. So it's really not really important. Then you put a cap, and you keep the wine during several years. So don't forget when you pour your champagne in your glass that the wine has spent at least 3 or 4 years in the bottle. That's why you need a large glass to let him breathe. It's very important. Most of the wine that you buy are very young. Champagne is an old wine. That's why you need to have a nice container and large to let him, yes, be with the air, rest a little bit, so you can get all the aromas. And so you have the second fermentation, which is quite immediate, and it lasts about 3 weeks. And then you have the lees, so the yeast, which are actually like a sediment. Yes, Gerhild, if you can show.
Yeah, let's see it a little bit.
It's a kind of dust, actually. It's not a lot, and it's in contact with the wine, and it also develop other aromas. So the longer the yeast is with the wine, the more aromas are developing. Yeah.
Yes, perhaps because if the sugar and the yeast, so they will eat it together. So then if the yeast has nothing to eat anymore to eat, so all the sugar is eaten by the yeast, and then they die. And this is that means the bottle are on the yeast. So this is the yeast, the diet yeast. It's on the bottom here, and the minimum is 15 months on the yeast for champagne. For millésime, it's 36 months and 3 years. So it's a millésime. But your champagnes are really longer on the yeast. This is very, very good. And so there is this taste. Therefore, the taste, because of the autolyse, is becoming more complex and more longer on the palate. And so after the and now after the storage on the yeast, you start with the riddling.
When you think the champagne is ready and you want to prepare the bottle for it to be dressed and to go to the market, then you do the riddling.
Yeah.
You do the riddling because you want to take gradually and very slowly all these dead yeast into the neck, the bottleneck. And at that moment, then you will freeze the bottleneck, and then freeze, you will open this capsule, and this frozen dead yeast will be all frozen and go out. Then you will fulfill the missing wine or champagne at that moment with another bottle, and then you put the cork. And this is when the champagne is corked.
And then we are talking of the dosage, what we are starting to talk at the beginning.
You would add the dosage at that moment. And the dosage normally is what every house believes they need to have its champagne being enjoyed as every house would like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And normally there is a big trend, which is long ago already, of very, very low sugar. Good champagnes, they don't need sugar, really. So the better the champagne is, the least it needs sugar. Because the sugar is there to cover mistakes, to cover fails. Normally, when the champagne is beautiful, the expression is there, you don't need sugar. So sugar is very low, very, very low, almost none. It depends on every house.
So if people have some question, you can ask us on YouTube. I won't say only hello tonight, but you can ask questions as well. So because at the last 5-10 minutes, we have some time to talk about it. But now we are going to another house, and we are going to KRUG. Maggie, you have a very impressive life, I think. You have done a lot of things. You are from Venezuela, and you have worked in Venezuela, in Argentina, and Mexico, and since 2009 in the Champagne area in Reims. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your life and why you are so embarrassed now with Champagne, and what is your aim? And at least we talk about KRUG.
Well, you know, I was born in Venezuela, as you said, and my father was a very global person. I had the opportunity to take my first ever drink with alcohol was champagne. I was like 12 years old, and I convinced my father of giving me a little bit. And I would never forget. I remember this since ever. And I always fell in love with champagne. For many years, I didn't like anything but champagne, for many years. And then I went into the world of wines and spirits. My father was in the world of wines and spirits. So this is part of my life. And I started to work. I'm a system engineer. So I started to work in my career. And for like 8 years, I worked in systems and developed systems for company of cosmetics, but also for a wines and spirit company. In 86, I asked my boss that I wanted to change to the commercial side of the wines and spirits. And I did, well, circumstances helped. And then from where I went to spirits, and I was a lot in spirits. And then I went to Mexico. I moved because I had my kids, so I wanted to share with my kids. And so it was difficult to have alcohol. And so I was in biscuits, and I used a lot of the tastings to rebuild that company. So all I learned of wine tasting was used in that time also. And then I went to Argentina, where it was a big time of transformation, and I was part of this, and I enjoyed it. And this is the moment I got in contact. I went from the wine, because I had wine since 78, 82. But I really got into the vineyards and all this world that is so, and then for me, it was not possible to go back to spirits or anything. I became totally a fan of wine. And of course, I had always this passion for champagne, which I sold in the different positions I had. But of course, when I was invited to join KRUG, I really enjoyed, it was not easy. It was a tough time. But anyway, I feel today, and you said Maggie KRUG, you know that Joseph, the Paul KRUG, the father of our founder Joseph, he had 10 kids, and the younger kid was Maggie. Yes, I believe I am this Maggie. So.
Margaret.
Say Maggie KRUG, because I feel totally that I am a daughter of this house. I love this house as it is mine. I mean, completely. There's no difference, I believe, between Olivia and me. I think we are like sister and brother. And I love this house. And I love this house based on the idea of the founder, which was to really recreate every year this kind of tribute to champagne. He didn't want to do different qualities of champagne, so he decided that he wanted to pay attention to every plot. He decided to go everywhere in champagne. So in every bottle of KRUG Grand Cuvée, okay, which is his dream and the reason of existence of the house, you will have like 80 villages represented. And the 3 great varieties are there. So we have Chardonnay, we have Pinot Noir, mostly Pinot Noir. We are a Pinot Noir house from Reims. Most important village is Ambonnet, but we go all around the region. In this bottle, you have Chateau-Thierry, you have Aube, everywhere, everyone. I mean, so many villages are represented. They have great growers. And for us, what we really want is to go and discover great growers with great terroirs. And our passion is about following these terroirs into one wine. So this is philosophy since the foundation of the house. And I'm very happy to introduce you to this 168th edition of KRUG Grand Cuvée, which is the dream of our founder for the 168th time. So for 168th year, you know, we have to make people remember that in the world of wine, everything happens once a year. So when the chef creates 10 dishes, we need 10 years to create 10 experiences. So this is the 168th edition, the 168th year, the dream of this man was recreated. And when we want to know what it's about, we turn and we find a KRUG ID. And you know that you can find in the krug.com or Twitter or Google or an application, which is the only free thing KRUG has done so far. And you find it in Apple and you can download the app and it tells you, you can access the story of this bottle. So if we want to know, there is 198 wines. You see. So there is 42 wines of reserve, the same as Anne explained. We keep them in vats. And there is a 42% off from 198 wines that go from 1996. And I remember that 1996 was a boozy from the Mountain of Rains, a wine that was marvelous. This is the oldest wine in this bottle, and the youngest are all for 2012. And this is a year where the house would have loved to create a vintage, but we couldn't make it because it was a small yield year, a year that produced little. And if we created a vintage, we would have created a big hole in the future for next generations of KRUG Grand Cuvée. So the decision was not to make a vintage. So you see, there are lots of decisions we have to make in our houses for the long term. And this is important for people to know, and Anne referred to champagne as more work, and it's true. To make a great wine is easier than to make a great champagne. And this is why we are really happy to make you enjoy champagne differently and to live champagne, be part of your everyday life in a different way. So cheers with this 168th edition of KRUG Grand Cuvée.
So it's 2 years ago. I have been in the cellars, and I have been 3 times now in the cellars, and I was really impressed about these reserve wines in these small tanks. And so it's really a challenge for me, I think, to do the assemblage. And you have to memorize and you have to try a lot of base wines and to have your style, because KRUG has a name and is a style as well. It's a really full-bodied wine.
More than a style, and this is important because when we found the little book of a founder in 2010, this is what has given us the light. So this is the most generous, we try. It's most generous expression of champagne. So what we try is to listen to new sounds. And because we work our vineyards in a more precise way, we want to take more precise sounds. At the end is this kind of symphony of champagne. It's like a tribute to champagne. You have the 3 grape varieties, and we represent most the region in this bottle. And I love this idea, but it's a moving idea. It's not fixed, it's moving. So it's not going to be the same. It's going to change every time. We're going to look for more flavors, aromas, and they will be expressed in this bottle. Today, we have 150 reserve wines from 14 different years, and we receive every year 250 wines, which are 250 plots transformed into wines. And we taste during 5 months, and so we taste to discover probably the sound of the year, and probably there is going to be a vintage, but always there will be this, the dream of our founder, which is going to be the KRUG Grand Cuvée. And so I love from this house, the way the house is very, very proud of bringing so many growers and ourselves together, and from different areas, because they love their plots, because they love their terroirs. And also to break all these kind of ideas that there is a region that is good, or another one, or a variety that is better. No, They are all fantastic. And Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Meunier, and some of our colleagues, they work in older cepage and older type of grapes, and they're all beautiful. And the point is not to have like this prejudice. It is about understanding that champagne, to make great champagne, is about loving your terroir, treating it well, getting the best grapes, picking them at the right time, and making great wines, and just blending, and every house will have the way of blending them. And this is why we are together. As a matter of fact, this is exactly why these 9 ladies are together, because we think that 9 can shout louder.
or some more. Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. I'm really,
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, girl.
I'm really impressed by this mouth feeling, by this richness. And for me, you have some cheese as well, I think, Maggie?
Exactly. And I wanted to tell you that this is an easy to find cheese, which is Parmesan. 24 months, but any Parmesan will work very nicely because it will bring all these kind of greasy, tasty, will round your mouth, and then when you taste the champagne, it will tango very nicely with this cheese. It really goes very nicely. And what we want to say with this is that it's very easy to pair champagne with a very nice, easy to find.
Yeah, we have the Comté as well. Comté is a perfect combination with champagne as well. 18 months.
Any one of the 3 that we have had goes super well with all the cheeses that we have here, including the Comté, which is French cheese.
So I have in Germany, we say for in the evening, we have some black bread, we have some cheese. And I have been dans le Jura, I have been in the Jura 4 weeks or 3 weeks ago. So I have really brought fresh Comté from the Jura. And I adore, I like it, j'adore. I like it very much. Excuse me, sometimes I speak. Yeah, because if I talk about food and champagne and food pairs, so I have to talk, I speak in French. It's my language. So sorry for that, for the others. But so I think it's a plate of cheese with some black bread in the evening and a nice, okay, a KRUG is perhaps not for everyone because it's a little bit more expensive than the other ones, but it's a great.
No, you don't say expensive. Expensive is not a good word. Yes. Expensive means that people pay more than what they receive. We can say costly.
Okay, we can say costly.
But it is for everyone who wants to have the good experience. I mean, this is a story that is for people who know nothing. You know, what is a great champagne is the one you love and gives you pleasure, and you decide. Okay, but as it is a little more costly, well, probably you have to combine a few friends and buy a bottle.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think now I have a Comté. It's 18 months, and it's very a little bit salty as well, and it's a great taste. And I was impressed about these different Comté dans le Jura. And yeah, with the good champagne, it's very well done. Perhaps we nearly will finish because I know you have to talk to US. So these ladies are very demanded today, and so I am really happy that we are now in Germany. And KRUG, he's coming from Mayence, and so from Germany, and he went like a lot of Germans to Champagne, and. Perhaps we talk a little bit at the end about the year 2020. So this year, the harvest, because it was a special harvest, I think. It was an early harvest, but who wants to explain a little bit, Chantal?
Well, 2020 was supposed, if I can talk about Eleanor, was supposed to be a very special year because this year we celebrate our 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
So it's quite, it's okay. Cheers to my great grandfather who founded the house a century ago. What about the harvest? Yeah, we had a very early harvest. The grapes were really sound and ripe. As Maggie said, a good champagne, a good wine is first and foremost good grapes. So it's very important to treat your vines well and to make the right decision when you decide to start picking the grapes. So this year it was a bit challenging because we noticed that the level of acidity was going down while the level of maturity stopped growing. So each grower, each house has to make the decision to decide when was the right date to start picking the grapes. We started with the Pinot Noir and the Pinot Meunier because the Chardonnay needed a bit more time. But at the end, we are very happy because the grapes were very sound and ripe. And that's very important because the wine you drink is just the grapes you eat. The wine is first of all good grapes and then aging for champagne. Hard work, as Chantal explained, long aging, but beginning is just grapes. So let's wait until beginning of next year, February, then we taste the vin clair, that still wines from Champagne from last harvest, and then we will decide if this harvest has the character to be a vintage, the level of acidity to be a great vintage with a great potential of aging, or a good base for non-vintage champagne. But for sure, we're very happy because the quality was good. Then just be a bit patient. In champagne, we know what patience means. So be patient and wait until the beginning of next year just to make sure that will be a great vintage or not.
Yeah.
So thank you, Gerhild.
Yeah, but I want to say thank you as well to Petra, from Petra Vogtmann to Everchamp, because she organized the delivery of all the champagnes in Germany.
Thank you.
Thank you, Petra.
Thank you,
Well
Petra.
done.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Hello.
And I thank you very, very much that you join us tonight and that we have had a good time. And I think I will be happy because next Sunday we have the next session with the next three ladies, and 2 weeks later we have the next session. So we will learn a lot more about champagne, about other grapes as well, because we have not only these three grapes, Pinot Noir and Meunier and Chardonnay. So I think you can be very curious, and I'm happy if you are online next Sunday again, because it's time to sit at home and to open a bottle. So thank you very much, and cheers.
We would like to thank everybody who have joined this moment with us. It's an enormous opportunity to say thank you, and it's been great to share with all of you.
And
Thank
if
you
you
so
want to find out all information about La Transmission, if you want to follow us and to know, to be informed about our events in the future, just follow us on Instagram, on Facebook as well, and on our website. We have a website in German as well.
Yes.
So la-transmission-champagne.com. Just follow us, and then you will keep informed, you will keep updated about all the events, all the information about the transmission, all of us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and see you soon.
Yes, do a good life, and bye.
Yes, bye again.
Have a glass of champagne. Don't worry for what is going on. Just have a glass of champagne.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Bye.
Tu me donnes la souris, Chantal, s'il te plaît.
Take care.